Hello, Salute Your Shorts Film Festival 2020. Filmmakers, friends, family, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Hunter Stiebel, actor, filmmaker, and participant in the 2019 Salute Your Shorts Film Festival with my film B&B, and I am super psyched and honored and just generally giddy about talking to the folks here that made the film Powers. So if you haven't seen it already, I don't know why you're watching a Q&A beforehand. Go watch it. Then call your mom, and then come back and watch this interview here. And would you guys be so kind as to introduce yourselves and let us know what you did on the film?
Hey, I'm Catherine Johansson. I was the production designer for the film. Had a lot of fun doing it.
I'm Chris Foydo. I directed it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And yeah, so I'm very excited that you are the two that we're talking to. There's actually, I would want to talk to a lot of guys on this, but from the moment the film started, I was felt like I was in a completely different world. I actually started watching, since we're virtual this year, I was watching my laptop, and I had dim lighting, and I immediately went over to stopped it and turned off the lights. I was like, I want to have the whole immersive experience. And I guess where to start with that? What were the initial discussions like about in terms of starting to create the world that you were creating?
I think we wanted to convey that feeling of being trapped in your anxiety and letting your house become kind of your prison. Yeah.
I guess maybe I'll jump on this. I think, I guess Chris did say it best. Now that we're in quarantine, we spend most of our time in our house while we're working. And even before this reality had set in, we already had it in our mind that some people spend a lot of time in their homes and they get attached to their televisions, and that just becomes the world that they're consumed with. So I think, yeah, that was the main focus for the feel.
I think you definitely succeeded in that. And would you say, was that the spark and the impetus behind this creation? Was just this thought, or?
I think we're both at the age where our friends are either doing super well in their careers or they're super happy. And it seems to be very different things. People give a lot to their careers and kind of put their family and friends on the back burners, and they're like, this is what's important. I need to be good at my job, which is definitely important, but I think more of the spark was just trying to create awareness around the phrase careerism that I never heard before. And it just means being so obsessed with your career that nothing else will ever be as important. Not family, not friends, not your own self-care. So I think we just want to explore that a little more.
Yeah, it was incredibly effective. You took us to this very surreal place, and yet it felt so close to home. And certainly being away from a parent, it was very relatable. I also found the news to be incredibly relatable as well, and I loved how they were talking so fervently about absolutely nothing. And I wonder if you could go into your creation of your dialogue there, what you were going after, what was inspiring you there.
I wish that I had some really great thing to say, but all of the dialogue that the newscasters say were just actual pieces of dialogue that we took from newscasters.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Watching clips.
Watching a lot of clips and being like, oh wow, it could be anything.
Really? That's horrifying. Okay.
But yeah, I'd love to be like, wow, Joe really wrote those, but yeah.
No, that's probably just as well. That's even worse. And then was it the GGYNX network? Is that right? Is that the right letter?
Yeah.
Is there any relevance to that, or is it just several letters that you thought?
Yeah, it's just nonsense letters.
It's so funny. When it started, I was like, "What production company is this?"
Yeah, have I heard of them?
That's,
No.
so then that kind of makes me lean into or wonder, what is, so this was certainly not your everyday film that you come across in a a standard narrative, and I wondered if your background involves multimedia or other formats of art, or where you came from in terms of your perspective on filmmaking.
Ooh,
Rather broad question.
I had Catherine, she's also my partner, and helped me. Well, she like did all the production design, which really like brought a lot of stuff to life and created the character more. Honestly, it was just using a bunch of friends and what their interests were. So my friend Nils Hoover is a great projection artist. So we were like, how can we get you involved in this project? And I guess that's how it happened. Before this, I was working on conservation documentaries for like several years. So nothing relevant to this at all.
Yeah, that wasn't what it struck me as, a conservation. That's awesome. Well, there you go. Leaning in, and trusting. I lost you for a second. Leaning in and trusting your collaborators is quite the lesson right there. And then, speaking of the collaborator, Catherine, the production was just so cool, and I'm hoping you can elaborate on what that process was in creating that space. I'm assuming you guys filmed on a soundstage of some sort, but just the following the wires to the other room and the thousands of phones, and if you could speak to some of your ideas and inspirations there.
Honestly, I think Chris and I work really well together. I'm so grateful for that. But I think my role in all of this is taking all of his ideas and just making them happen. And I think luckily we share a lot of the same aesthetics, and we have a pretty good idea of like reading each other. So I had a good idea of how he wanted the film to look, and I had an idea in my mind. I have an interior design background, so I kind of just harnessed that, and I was like, how do you want this person to feel in the space? And I think Chris had most of the kooky ideas with the wires and the phones, and we just made everything work.
That's cool. And I had this sense of, and certainly not as dark as that, but there was a sense of Requiem for a Dream that I got that call back to. Was that intentional or acknowledged, or just happened to be the case?
Yeah, that definitely became very aware while we were writing. We're like, oh, mother-son duo with a TV, and now magical realism. I think for a little bit, there's some frustration of oh crap, we did the thing. But we remade a movie. But ultimately, it felt good to kind of see not people who are hooked on heroin relating to the story and being like, oh, I see this happens in everyday life in ways that we just totally disregard.
Mm-hmm.
We did have a few moms at a few screenings come up and say this really reminded me of their kid, and the look was so depressing. I feel normally you want people to relate to your film, but then hearing that somebody was really relating to the parent character, whether it was a mom or a dad, was just a little rough.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly felt I could relate to it just from worrying about my own parents, and then also seeing myself in the future having a 10-month-old, and just seeing this this circle of life. but also it wasn't, there were these, you know, one, Requiem is certainly a good film to be compared to. I love that film, but I haven't seen it in 2 decades or something. So the fact that it popped into my head, but also there wasn't that, like you said, that heroin darkness to it. It wasn't, you know, that just, there was a melancholy to it, and a internal sadness, not a terrifying pandemic, you know, this is the end of the world thing.
Totally a good movie. Yeah, just
Yeah.
feel the need to say it. Great movie. Totally happy to be in its footsteps.
Yeah, a good movie to be compared with. But also then again, you have the contrast of like the phones, for example, being the happiest phones I've ever seen. And so it played nicely. It had a sense of play that were really like brought up when played well with the sadness, the sense of melancholy, I thought.
It's nice to hear.
I think one thing that was fun was bringing, like, we're both in our 30s, so we grew up in the 90s, is like playing on the 90s kids' bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had a lot of fun with, and
Jordan.
yeah, and then the phones were definitely a thing that we both remembered. Like there were the green clear phones that were handless, and the blue ones, you're like, go with the clear colorful ones.
I still remember feeling so cool when I got my own phone line in my room.
Right?
Right?
It changed my social world entirely.
Well, if you want a colored one,
Oh,
we have maybe 8 or 9.
That's awesome. That's great. Are you guys based in Austin? Am I right in that?
Yeah, we're in Austin.
So going along those ideas of working with your friends and colleagues and coming up with something that, you know, you had so many different creative inputs, how do you find working in Austin, the pros and the cons? I'd be curious to hear.
Biggest pro was finding Babs, who was the lead in our short. And like how down to earth and chill and amazing to talk to, and yeah.
she's a badass.
Yeah, she's so great.
Yeah, she was.
Aside from that, it's nice. Yeah, it's like everyone has different interests, right? Like I'm sure most cities have a lot of good art scenes and various mediums people like to work in. So I don't know. It's just nice to like give other people like full control and let them see what the heck happens, and not get too hung up on the story, you know.
Right. So I know it's a weird time, an interesting time, but I'm curious if you guys are either working on or perhaps just looking to other ideas or projects in the future, or are you just, is the next project catching up on the latest Netflix series? That's okay too.
I wish.
I wish. We've been spending these 105-degree summer days in Texas building a treehouse 45 feet up for our next short film. So excited. I have like a photo, but you know, we're on Zoom, so I don't know how well that translate.
I'll take it.
Okay. But it's like, I think we're both pretty ready to be done with it. I can't even see it
Oh
at
yeah,
all.
we can't see.
I can tell that it's really high up.
Really high up, yeah.
Moly, that seems like a very high risk film.
Literally.
So we've been having a lot of fun, but the heat is
It's
brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you give us are we allowed to get any insights as to what the topic will be or themes?
Sustainability.
Oh, okay. We're bringing it back.
Bringing it back.
All right. I like it.
Yeah, but similar kind of vibe of magical realism and Catherine's insane PD, and the same DP from Power will be filming it.
Very cool. That is awesome. You guys are probably the most productive folks in a pandemic that I've met. So
No rest.
no rest for the wicked. Well, if you haven't seen the film Power yet, I imagine you will be shortly clicking over and watching it and leaving the world of the pandemic and joining a world with mom and many phones. Thank you guys so much for sharing this moment with us. It's an awesome film. Congrats on being a part of Salute Your Shorts 2020. And yeah, congratulations, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
You're great.
Yeah.
All right, Salute Your Shorts. We are out.